Welcome, everyone, to the Great Race Place, Santa Anita Park in Arcadia, California. Day 2 of the Breeders' Cup World Championships. One of the most gorgeous backdrops in all of sports with the San Gabriel Mountains. Our coverage here on Facebook, brought to you by America's Best Racing. Opening ceremonies have been concluded. We're getting ready to start here with the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. Future Stars Friday yesterday, we had a little bit of everything. There were favorites, there were upsets, there were tears. American Pharoah putting his stamp on the Breeders' Cup yesterday afternoon, and today, 9 more Breeders' Cup events, headlined by the Breeders' Cup Classic on NBC, post time 8:44. The Filly Mare Sprint just around the corner, about 19 minutes to post. 9 championship races for day 2 of the Breeders' Cup World Championships. And now joined by Matt Bernier, Nick Luck. Gentlemen, great to spend another Breeders' Cup with you.
Thank you very much.
After last year's debacle on this, like they let us back.
They're doing it again. I don't know why, but they're doing it again.
You're the handicapper, Matt. Let's start with this. The one horse. Somebody at home who got their teeth kicked in yesterday, who's the one horse they can depend on this afternoon that you like?
Well, from a value standpoint, I think a horse like Spun to Run is a little bit interesting in the dirt mile. I know everyone's going to be looking at Omaha Beach, understandably so, visually so impressive in his return effort, and this added ground should only be to his benefit. But Spun to Run ran a bang-up race at Parks most recently. From a speed figure standpoint, he's the fastest horse in the race. And if there was any sort of concern about that race as a whole, Nick, people wondered about the quality. Horses that have run behind him, they've come back and they've won. So they continue to flatter the form. Spun to Run, to me, from a value standpoint, he makes a lot of sense.
You have time. If you haven't watched that race, like, dial it up.
Do yourself a favor.
Forget about where it was run. That doesn't matter. It was awesome. Spun to Run, a live long shot in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Nick, the Europeans, your thoughts going into the grass races this afternoon?
I don't think it's impossible, and I don't want to be a pessimist from a European point of view. I don't think it's impossible that Europeans could go over at this Breeders' Cup. No winners yesterday. A couple of horses ran very well. Daya, Albania in the juvenile fillies turf. But it's fair to say that this clutch of European horses does not have a headliner, a marquee horse, a horse that stands clearly over the rest of the field. And it's sometimes them that dig the Europeans out of trouble. Having said that, in the 1.5 mile turf race, I'd be disappointed if either Old Persian or Anthony Van Dyke couldn't lay down a significant challenge, gentlemen, to Bricks and Mortar, who's Chad Brown's likely heavy favourite.
That's in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Bricks and Mortar in that conversation for Horse of the Year. So that's all still coming your way. But in case you missed some of the highlights, some of the activity on Breeders' Cup Championship Friday, Future Stars Friday, this was the scene shortly after the TVG Breeders' Cup Juvenile. She hit the pick 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How good is that?
Brittany, that was
so good.
Awesome.
Well, you know, I didn't realize that my voice could get that high, but I know truly a really special moment for my family. I think I'm still a little bit stunned by what transpired yesterday, and I think it'll really sink in today. But I'm enjoying myself in the Peacock Paddock, and this is truly paying homage to the great Zenyatta, Queen Z, who 10 years ago made the ground shake in California when there wasn't an earthquake, when she became the first female to beat the boys in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So people can come in here, they can reminisce. There's some beautiful photos back here, but also they can get involved in the Glam Cam. So I have some incredibly fashionable people here with me, because we know as much it is about the ponies and the wagers and the party, it's about the fashion. People spend some time getting their outfits put together. And I know that here little Vander dressed to the nines. Is that a 3-piece suit? Is there a jacket that goes over this? Because I love it.
No, just the vest.
And he loves the mic, too. I think he's going to steal my job eventually. But we are going to have some fun in here, people reminiscing about the great Queen Z. Here you go, sir. You don't want to lose that. So we're going to have some fun in here. So make your way in here, take your photos, reminisce about Zenyatta, and show off your dressed to the nines outfits.
Brittany, school night last night. Did you stay in? You have work today?
I did stay in. Actually, the way we celebrated was to have taco night. So my mom cooked tacos, my parents cheers with margaritas, and we revisited. But now I'm making him
He's
cry.
not
I'm
impressed.
making
Hey,
babies
not
cry, you guys.
impressed.
He
Hey.
must not have had Storm the Court yesterday.
He didn't know
Sorry, bud.
He didn't know your voice could go that high either.
Britt,
It's scary.
What happens today? What are you going to do if you win again? If Peter Urton wins again?
I might pass out. You're going to have to take the interview.
Well, there are plenty of paramedics on call here at Satuday, so
Thankfully for
happily.
that.
Giant expectations in the dirt mile. Brittany, thanks so much. Getting closer to the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. Horses are in the paddock with about 14 minutes ago. Storylines for this year's Breeders' Cup. Well, what story are you looking forward to seeing how it unfolds today?
Well, I mean, we've talked about the Breeders' Cup Sprint for some time, and we'll dive into the changes here in a bit. But we had a defection earlier today. Doesn't really take too much away from the race. I know it is one of the marquee names, but it's still, to me, the best race that we have all weekend, and maybe one of the shortest fields. But I'm so looking forward to seeing Matoli go out there with Chancelot, with the Firenze Fire, with Catalina Cruiser, the local horse. There's so many talented horses in that race. Perhaps it's not the best betting race, depending on how you want to look at it, but I think from an overall quality standpoint, I think it's the best of the weekend.
I think from a purist point of view, the Sprint is the best race. From the point of view of those who want to see a real future star, even though his career is going to be brief after this, it's Omaha Beach, has the potential to be the most talented horse over both days. And as regards the key storyline of the day, a story that will resonate outside the racing bubble, then I don't think there's any doubt it'll be McKinsey, given the emotional impact that horse has on his trainer, Bob Baffin.
That's the Breeders' Cup Classic and the jockey switch. So interesting.
Yes.
With Mike Smith now riding Yoshida, Joel Rosario on McKinsey. We welcome in Eddie Olczyk. Edzo, happy Breeders' Cup Saturday to you.
Hello, boys. How's everything outside?
All good here, my friend.
Good.
You ready for today? You confident? You ready?
Actually, I do feel pretty good. Haven't kind of found my stride just yet early today, but we've gone through 3 races. We're getting ready for the 4th race. But, you know, I think just from a handicapper's aspect of it, the way the track, both the turf and the dirt have been playing, I think it's been pretty fair. I mean, really, we had a couple wire winners yesterday, at least very close to the lead. Did have a horse circle out wide on the dirt, and on the turf, it looked like speed was really good yesterday. And then we saw Chad Brown win with one on the turf from saving ground on the rail, getting out and making a kick. So you know, and then earlier today we had a turf race coming from the middle of the track. So I think that both surfaces are playing fair, and now it's just up to us to try to find those winners.
We're going to get your Filly Mare Sprint selection in just a moment, Edzo. We wanted to check the odds for this 13th Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. Riders up, horses leaving the paddock. We'll have a post parade in just a moment. There's a look at the favorite, Come Dancing, at 9-5. This is surprising. Come Dancing, who's very good and has had a tremendous second half of the season. The best older female sprinter in the country, 9-5. But Kafefi was the heavy favorite, but she's drawn inside, which might be the reason why she's, I won't say she's ignored, but the reason she's not the favorite at 2-1. Bellafina, this is her backyard, 4 for 4 here at Santa Anita. Matt, do you think that's why Kafefi isn't that favorite? The rail post and historically how tough inside post positions have been on fillies and mares in this race?
I think that combined with the other speed in this race. Kafefi, you're kind of in a really tough spot down there. You have to be aggressive from the gate, and there is other speed drawn just to her outside. So I think she's got a few things working against her.
Daily racing form post parade. There she is, Kafefi, lightning fast and hard to catch.
Yeah, Kafefi is a horse that just really on her best. She is faster than everyone else. The problem is, as we alluded to, speed drawn just to her outside. There's a number of things. That inside position on the track, not an easy position to break from.
Danuska's My Girl pictured would be a big surprise.
But as Matt said, she has some speed, and that played well yesterday. The significant story here is she trained by Dan Ward, the former assistant trainer to Jerry Hollendorfer, who had his license withdrawn here at Santa Anita Park by the owners, the Stronach Group. So this would be a somewhat contentious winner.
Heaven has my Nikki. She's quick.
She is quick. She's another one that's going to just play into that big speed situation. The inside 3 horses, they're all going to be forwardly placed. She is owned by Ron Palucci. He is an ambassador for racing. He shows up when the races are at their biggest and best, and he throws his horses in. They may be a little bit overmatched from time to time, but you can't fault the guy for trying.
And fires. He bets. Come Dancing, the favorite at 9-5, Nick.
Seeking to give Javier Castellano an 11th Breeders' Cup success, a 9-5 shot. Yes, she has a strong chance on form. No, we don't want to see her lugging in late, as she has done the last twice.
Lady Ninja, Matt?
Bit of a rags to riches story. She was claimed in 2018 for $32,000. She came back. She won a graded stakes in her most recent run over Selcourt, who we'll see here momentarily. She's not totally without a chance.
Bellafina Defeated favorite in last year's Kentucky Oaks and Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, but 4 for 4 at Santa Anita.
Storm the courts rider from yesterday, Flavian Pratt, teaming up with Simon Callahan, who went so close to victory himself yesterday in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies with Donna Veloce.
Selk Court made the lead and faded in this race last year.
She's the kind of horse that likes to be forwardly placed. This is going to be her second start off the layoff for John Sadler, the winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic last year, so you know that Sadler can have him ready to go for a spot like this. She's another one, though, adding to that pace situation.
Don the Destroyer, deep closer.
Under Tyler Gaffalione, who enjoyed his biggest success in the saddle when taking the Preakness Stakes this year on Breeders' Cup Classic Mount War of Will. Kieran McLaughlin is the trainer, the man who saddled Invasor to win the Breeders' Cup Classic in 2006.
Spiced Perfection draws outside.
Trained by Peter Miller. All of Miller's horses seem to be running big this weekend, and this is a filly that, boy, we'll take a look at it in a bit. Her run in the TCA most recently at Keeneland. Horses aren't supposed to win with a trip like that.
No, they're not.
She did.
Not at that level. We'll look back at that TCA Stakes and some of the other key preps for this Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. That is the field. 9 of them sprinting. 7 furlongs, fillies and mares, 3 and up, post time, 8 minutes out. Edzo, you ready to unveil that selection, my friend?
We're going to try. Hopefully make a little bit of money here. I'd be interested on Maddie's thought with Kofefe. Coming out of those 7 furlong race, that's what this race is. The 2 speed horses directly to her outside are speed going 6 furlongs. Do you see any situation where Kofefe is sitting in behind the 2 and 3 here, Maddie, right out of the gate?
Well, look, to me, her best asset is her speed, so I don't think you want to necessarily take that away from her, but at the same time...
That's not what I asked you, Maddie.
Look, I think it's a situation where you have to go. I think she goes to the front. I think Danuska's my girl's breathing down her neck.
Gotcha.
Kofefe is just naturally better and more talented than those other horses are. The problem is...
So try to take the heart out of them, you think?
Well, I think that's what she's going to do, but does it soften her up enough for somebody from just off of it? Maybe it come dancing.
Right. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to go with Kofefe on the rail, and I'm going to use... I know you like Lady Ninja, so do I, to maybe pick up the pieces late, and you can really blow this thing up. So I'm going to key the 1 on top, and I'm going to use 3 horses underneath. I'm going to use the 5, the 9, and the favorite, Come Dancing. So I'm going to invest $30. So 1 5, 1 9, 1 4, $10 each equals 30. So hopefully I can turn that 30 into preferably not 80, but hopefully somewhere around that 460 range, and that would be a good start. So I'm going to go with Kofefe, guys.
You've become like a Jedi with that touchscreen, by the way.
So, you know what I need, though? I need to come up with some sort of a, what do they call that, software? I'm not into that World Wide Web stuff that we live in now.
We're on Facebook, as you call, he calls it. He says, we're on FaceSpace. Facebook.
Well, I mean,
Facebook,
look,
Edzo.
when you look at somebody through something and you can see them, obviously it goes through space, and then you could see their face. So that's why I got confused, space face. So anyways, I want to add a couple of zeros before we end the day, because you know what? I got a hockey game I got to work tonight, too, over at Staples Centers between the Blackhawks and the Kings.
Speaking of which, so Kofefe, infamously named after an infamously misspelled tweet by the president, Kofefe.
Right.
What's your favorite, like, hockey-inspired name of a racehorse? Anything come to mind?
Oh, wow. That's you're going to have to give me about 5 minutes on that one. How about
we have all day.
How about Nyquist? I got a little help from the truck.
Nyquist probably the best,
I got a little help from the truck. How about Nyquist?
Gustav Nyquist.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
you got it. Best of luck with your wages, my friend.
Oh, we're going to try. See you, boys.
He'll be here all afternoon, Eddie Olczyk, and this is what he does. He's going to catch fire later on this afternoon. Just you watch. Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. Joel Rosario riding the favorite, Kofefe. Can she win from the rail? That is the question. How about Javier Castellano, Hall of Famer, 4-time Eclipse Award winner, won yesterday's Juvenile Fillies with British Idiom, and John Velasquez aboard Spice Perfection, hoping she breaks much better today than she did in the TCA Stakes. 6 minutes to post till this Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. That's part of the beauty, guys, of the Breeders' Cup. It's seeing these jockeys at this racetrack as we check the odds, Come Dancing 9 to 5. These superstar jockeys from all over the world. If not for the Breeders' Cup, like, when do you get to see Frankie Dettori at Santa Anita?
Never. And really, again, that's sort of the instance where you talk about it. You know, people bring up riders in different jurisdictions and things like that. This is basically the all-star game for riders as well, not just for the horses, the equine athletes. This is the all-star game for the riders. You're not going to get a bad rider.
And I think those who follow other sports who maybe only tune into horse racing once or twice a year and they tune into a Breeders' Cup, you talk about a rider like Frankie Dettori. This is his 26th Breeders' Cup. 26 years at the very top of his profession. he may be 48, 49. He doesn't look it, and he's not riding like a veteran either. It's extraordinary.
And there's Joel Rosario on Covfefe coming off of that monster win in the dogwood, and she popped a big 107 Beyer speed figure. The Beyer speed figures, again, it's like a quarterback rating. The higher the number, the faster the performance. Covfefe at 2-1. So again, named after that infamously misspelled tweet by the president, Covfefe, and he was trying to spell what?
Coverage. So if I were to say to you, Lafitte, you've had some negative Covfefe on Twitter today.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You know,
Sounds
my favorite part about that is that's not an autocorrect. Like if you were doing that on your phone. So how do you even get that combination of letters? How do you get that?
How do you, and how about easy pickings?
He might have unusually large fingers, which just slide over the wrong.
Hamburgers.
We're making a lot of friends.
I know.
Covfefe.
Stop talking.
Drawn inside that big dogwood win. What do you? So here's the stats statistically. Inside post positions 1, 2, and 3 in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint, a combined 0 for 36. If that's the case, where's the evidence that outside horses run better? 5 horses from 11 and out have won, 6 from 9 and out have won. So historically, she's up against it from that post.
And then you combine that with the idea that there is other speed in this race, and she's going to have to go. I understand she has shown the ability to rate in each of her past 2 starts, but your hand's kind of forced down on the inside because I think the last thing you want to do is willingly give up that position. I don't think you want to get yourself put into a bit of a box and then have to navigate some kind of a trip from out of there. A lot of this boils down to if you're on the best horse, we've seen it time and time again throughout the years, whether it was Justify, whether it was American Pharaoh, whether it was Arrogate, Gunrunner. If you think you're on the best horse, just go. Don't overthink it. Don't get too cute. I think down from the inside, there's really no alternative. I think Rosario sends, and she tries to wire him, but I think there's going to be some company up front.
She's won from the inside, as you mentioned twice. Trainer Brad Cox does not seem concerned about the inside post. As we say hello to Donna Brothers. Donna, happy Breeders' Cup Saturday to you.
Thank you, Lafitte. Same to you. So, yes, I think you guys are right on target, and these jockeys are almost following your instructions out here. Joel Rosario took Covfefe away from the pony, gave her a nice solid warm-up, which certainly indicates, as you guys sort of have predicted, that he's going to want to try to use that early position and get some good position early from that inside post. Also the same with Bellafina. The jockey took her away from the pony as well. You know, Bellafina coming off of some longer races, and so it made sense for her to get a nice stiff warm up here and try to get her on her toes in advance of this 7-furlong sprint, guys.
All right, Donna. So Covfefe at 2-1, morning line favorite. Now the second choice at 2-1. The choice, Come Dancing, for Blue Devil Racing, trained by Carlos Martin, has rattled off 2 straight victories in the Ballerina at Saratoga and the Grade 2 Gallant Bloom at Belmont Park.
The Gallant Bloom was an interesting race, Nick, and I know we talked about it a little bit earlier. She's developed a little bit of a habit. She's not the best gate horse, but most recently in that Gallant Bloom, boy, she lugged in badly down to the inner rail, and usually for me, that's not a positive sign.
And we haven't seen much of it in the past. Maybe
right.
for a stride or 2 in the race prior, but bad in the Gallant Bloom.
Last twice, things haven't really gone her way. She hasn't had the best of breaks. Not entirely her fault the last twice she's run. And you wonder what the cumulative effect that is on a horse's mentality coming into a big race. Everything needs to go perfectly for her today. So you have to take that on trust at odds of 9-5.
So what do you make of the fact, Matt, that she broke so poorly in the Ballerina? That was a Grade 1 race. Say what you will about the competition. Again, Grade 1 race. You can't fault her for who she's running against. For her to have broke that poorly, circle the field and win that easily, that does take a special type of racehorse.
Certainly. I mean, you've got to give her credit for going and getting the job done. You're right. You don't control who you run against. But when you just look at sort of the tail of the tape, this Grade 1 compared to the Grade 1 2 starts back, that one in the Ballerina was a Grade 1 in name only. This is a much tougher field. I don't think she can afford to spot the field that sort of a start, even with the pace situation, and be able to loop.
Nick, how does Spiced Perfection take down this Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint?
Well, Maddie touched on the angle here earlier. Peter Miller, who's won the last 2 turf sprints and the last 2 sprints, he trains this filly, and he has got his horses in scintillating form. He very nearly pulled off an upset yesterday in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and his horse ran up a fine race in the earlier turf race, and he's had 2 winners on the undercard as well.
Quickly, look at this. This is what she overcame in the TCA Stakes. This is a brutal start, facing some of the best female sprinters in the country. A very prestigious sprint race. She's last, right? Her race should be over, like Dennis's moment yesterday, and watch her bull her way in between rivals and still still go on to victory and hold off a late charge of Dawn the Destroyer, who's running in this Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint.
And it's another instance where horses aren't supposed to win given that kind of start, regardless of what the field looked like. You're not supposed to win that way. So again, that's sort of a tip of the cap to this filly here. She's definitely got a chance, and she's 6-1.
She won't get away with that today.
No. Not today, not against this field. As they file into the gate, blowout long shots last couple of years, a 66-1 shot, Barra Gold at Delmar, and last year Shamrock Rose at 25-1.
I see nothing wrong with Bellafina's chance here. She's cutting back in distance after a good run in the Cotillion Stakes where she attended a frenetic pace.
Bellafina for Nick.
This is my Arkong play from our Betting the Breeders' Cup show. I like Lady Ninja. I think she's tenacious. She's got the local sort of connections. I want to give her a chance.
Larry Comas with the call. Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint.
They're all in line. We are ready for a start. They're off in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. And Kofefi comes out running from the inside. Danuska's My Girl is alongside, and Heaven Has My Nikki. Farther out, Spice Perfection. And now Kofefi will have to sit off the pace. She's just in behind the leaders today. Come Dancing and Cell Quarter next. Lady Ninja between those two, then Bellafina. And the trailer up the backstretch is Dawn the Destroyer. So up the backstretch they go, and Danuska's My Girl and Heaven Has My Nikki are 1-2. And Kofefi from off the pace as they blaze through a 22.13 opening quarter mile. Now Bellafina's down on the inside of Kofefi. She sticks her head into third. Then Spice Perfection, Cellcourt on the outside, Lady Ninja, and after that comes Come Dancing, and Dawn the Destroyer is well behind as they make their way around the turn. Danuska's My Girl on the inside of Heaven Has My Nikki. Kofefi and Spice Perfection 3 and 4 wide respectively on the turn. Now the four of them bunch up. Bellafina sits right behind them in fifth. Come Dancing's got to come going now. She's about 7 lengths behind. They went 44.78 for a half, and they're into the stretch, and Kofefi has made a run. She has taken over here, and from off the pace now she's 2.5 lengths in front. Bellafina on the outside tries to run her down. Spice Perfection is third, 16th to go. Kofefi, Bellafina on the far outside. These two coming down to the line, and Kofefi does it. Kofefi over Bellafina. Dawn the Destroyer was closing late on the outside of Spice Perfection. Kofefi from a little off the pace today, but she got the job done.
From that inside post position, probably not the way it was drawn up on the chalkboard, Kofefi strikes in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. That's 2 Breeders' Cup victories for trainer Brad Cox. Took down the juvenile fillies yesterday. There he is, fist pump, and now a winner of a Filly Mare Sprint. Wow.
The front 3 horses here have all come from a little way off the pace. Bellafina missed the break, got shuffled back. Dawn the Destroyer was last early, and Kofefi from 1 didn't get the best break, but maybe, Matt, that was to their advantage. The front 2 are miles clear.
It may have been a bit of a blessing in disguise. We can see as they turn for home right here. The fractions of this race over a track that has universally been considered on the slow side. They went a half mile in 44 and 3. That's blazing fast, even on a fast-looking track compared to this. And you're right, Nick. It may have been sort of one of those instances where it was the best thing that could have happened for Kofefi. You see her going on. A good effort from Bellafina, getting back to what she's wanted to do all along.
A little bit unlucky. Inside, got chopped for a run round.
Had to wait for a little bit.
Had to tip out.
Yeah.
But she never really looked like she was going to get there.
Donna Brothers with winning pilot Joel Rosario.
Joel Rosario now 2 for 2 on Kofefi after a grade 1 win in the test. 2 starts back. Tough post position. The 1 post, you elected to go ahead and take her back. Did you take her back, or did they just go super fast up front?
I didn't take her back. You know, she kind of braked a little bit slow, but she got going right away, and then it looked like they break quick out of there too. And then I was able to, like, I tried to see if a couple go, then maybe get in the clear. And that's what I did, and she, you know, she just, you know, nice horse. She, the more you ride, the more she give it to you.
Joel, the half-mile fractions were 44 and change, which is really fast over this track right now. Could you tell they were going pretty fast up front?
Yeah, she moved so, I can't even tell the way she goes. She moved, you know, so nice. And
effortlessly?
Yes, yeah, she, you know, she just have a long stride, and then it's hard to tell, you know, how fast you're going. She do it so easy.
Your 10th Breeders' Cup win, what's that mean to you?
You know, it means a lot for me, for my kids, and, you know, and also everybody who, you know, give me the opportunity to be here, you know, all the trainers and owners, and also the fans, you know, who are here always supporting us.
And also you're coming back to ride here in California, given that it's here at Santa Anita. Does that give it more significance?
Yes, we're looking forward, you know, that's where we come from, and then, you know, happy to be back, yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's go to Brittany.
With winning trainer Brad Cox, who kicks off the Breeders' Cup afternoon in a big way today. third Breeders' Cup victory. Just talk to me about how special this horse is.
She's amazing. She's just so fast, and but she's rateable. Joel did a great job with her. Was able to broke maybe just a tick slow and get on the outside of the 2-speed horses, and just gave her a beautiful trip. She's an unbelievable filly. She'll do whatever a rider wants from her, ask of her, and she's just a tremendous filly to be around.
How much concern was there coming into today with that rail draw?
I wasn't that concerned. That's 3 for 3 from the rail, so I mean, for her, it's not that big a deal. It's just kind of how she breaks and where she ends up going down the backside, and if she's pressed or not. Joelle, like I said, did a fantastic job. Couldn't be any happier with the ride. It was perfect.
I saw you give a big hug to Jamie Roth of L&J Fox with the owner. She was in absolute tears. What does it mean to you? They've been long supporters of you and your career. To give them this victory.
Yeah, to give us a filly like this means the world. I mean, she's just so much talent. She came to us with, they told me when they sent her to, they said she's a good filly, and she's been good since day one. She showed us right away. She's very special.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Brittany. Appreciate it.
And Brad Cox isn't done. He has Arklow in the turf. He has Owendale in the classic. That victory last year. Monomoy Girl yesterday. British Idiom in the juvenile fillies. How about Joel Rosario? He won 3 Breeders' Cup races last year, including the classic Accelerate and a date with Mackenzie in today's Breeders' Cup Classic.
Maybe Baffert's onto something.
Going with the hot hand. Change things up. Maybe it'll work. Maybe.
He feels he can.
Like this.
And he's given this filly a good ride because, as Brad said, he was patient on her. He didn't rush. He didn't panic when the start wasn't great. He just assessed the situation.
He didn't say as much. I would love to know if he was actually that thrilled when it happened, when she was a little bit slow out of the gate, because I just, push comes to shove, I wonder if the goal was actually to take off in behind
The
horse.
3 of us kind of looked at each other and, okay, this isn't good.
Yeah.
We figured she would have to air him out, go wire to wire from the rail as she enters the winner's circle. But what a season she's had. 1 loss. She's now 5 for 6. And maybe 3-year-old filly, the most prestigious 3-year-old filly sprint race, aside from a Breeders' Cup, the test at Saratoga. She won that and beat Serengeti Empress, and now winning today. Just an incredible 2019 campaign for Covfefe.
She's probably put together at least a finalist campaign, I would imagine, for 3-year-old filly.
Yes.
Now, we'll find out and see what happens. Dunbar Road's going to go later on this afternoon in the Distaff. Should she win that race, I would assume she'd be a pretty straightforward champion for 3-year-old filly. But if nothing else, this is a pretty stellar campaign that Covfefe's put together.
And let's hope she goes round again.
Yeah.
No.
And
next year.
I've heard nothing to the contrary at this stage.
So you were mentioning you like Bellafina coming in, Nick, and she ran big on a track she'd never lost on 4 for 4 coming in. What happened at the start?
Let's take a look at it. She got shuffled back at the start. These are the connections that were represented by Donna Veloce yesterday. She broke fine and on terms. To my eye, she just got pinched a little between the 5 Lady Ninja and the 7 Selcourt. Just didn't get the hole when she needed it. I don't know whether that was of her own making.
You wonder, though, coming out of, we talk about turnbacks. Turnback meaning horses that go 2 turns and then they turn them back to a 1-turn race. Typically, you're going to have the stamina to be able to stay a distance like the 7/8. However, it can sap a little bit of that early speed that these sprinters possess that maybe she doesn't have at this point because she's been dulled a little bit by those longer races. Perhaps that worked against her there.
So I liked her. And a reductive view, I think, is that she was a bit unlucky because she didn't have the perfect trip. And certainly Simon Callahan, who had no fortune yesterday with Donna Veloce, will be thinking that very thing. But when you look at it again, she was never really going to get to Covfefe, I don't think.
The only thing I would say, though, is if you go back and you pick it up on the far turn, she is loaded in behind horses. And I wonder if she could have got out a little earlier or just made sort of the overland route, or at least committed to it a little sooner. Maybe it gets even closer than it was.
Very talented filly, though, for sure.
Covfefe in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. It's race 1. We're just getting started with Breeders' Cup Championship Saturday. We're trying to keep things positive. So right on cue, we get a question from Facebook who wants to know from Matt, what's your worst beat ever? Is the question.
Ooh, worst beat ever? I got to jog the memory bank a little bit. There have been a number of good wins and terrible beats. Offhand, putting me on the spot. I guess
the truth is he's never had a bad.
No, that's false.
That's what you and I have to come to terms with. He's just too good.
The worst beat that I've ever had. Again, you're going through a pretty long catalog.
Don't handicappers gamble? Isn't that what they remember most? Not so much the wins, but the tough, hard to swallow beats.
Yeah, I know a lot of people do. A lot of my friends do. But again, that's kind of, I like to think of things in a more positive light, negative light. I try to avoid the negativity. Let's stay positive in things. I'll think of something. I'll think of something.
Think of something.
Don't hold me to it right now. I'll think of something by the time we get
We're
off.
only here till like midnight tonight. Post time for the Breeders' Cup Classic around 11:15 p.m. Results are in. The TVG payouts. Covfefe at 3-2, so that the odds really swung for her. She was 5-2 on the morning, 2-1 on the morning line, 5-2 throughout, and then 3-2 at post time. Covfefe, what a performance! Turning back Bellafina and Don the Destroyer from off the pace. A solid third place finish. Don the Destroyer in her last 2 races, second in the TCA and third in this Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. You see the official order of finish. Formful for the most part. Are you seeing anything in terms of the track that you would suggest to a handicapper like, hey, man, I'm just watching these races early on. I'm noticing this, maybe the inside, outside, speed, closer. Are you noticing any type of bias?
Dirt's a little bit early to tell the turf. I think you still want to be a little bit closer than trying to come from out of the clouds. You can close, but I think it's a hair on the speed-friendly side.
Brittany, all set with the trophy presentation to the winning connections of the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint.
That we are. Covfefe making headlines again as she takes the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint for the trophy presentation to Ellen J. Foxwood, Larry, Nancy, and Jamie Roth. Rashard Lewis, former NBA All-Star and Breeders' Cup Ambassador.
Jamie, congratulations on winning the Grade 1 Filly and Mare Sprint. Amazing race. Congratulations.
Thank you. I always want to do
You know, Rashard said that was pretty heavy, but you made it look actually quite light. Jamie, a first Breeders' Cup victory for your family. Describe the emotion that goes along with that.
I can't put words together right now. This is everything I could ever wish for, and I'm over the moon. I don't have words.
You fell in love with the sport because of a great mare, Rachel Alexandra. Where do we place Covfefe now?
I mean, she's our best filly in our stable, and no comparisons, but I love her so much.
It has been truly an incredible year for you and your family. Country House being promoted to the victory in the Kentucky Derby. What is it about this sport that just gets the adrenaline going, win, lose, or draw?
Just knowing everything that goes into getting to this moment, from when they're born to when they're broken, to when they get to the trainer, and to the draw, and to the race. So it all has to work, and it doesn't always. So when it does, it's incredible.
Was the family nervous today? Nancy, how are you doing?
I just want to also thank Helen Alexandra because she bred this horse, and without her, there'd be no Covfefe.
And you guys know what goes into the breeding industry as well. A big congratulations to all of you. Brad Cox, Joel Rosario had to scoot off. It is Covfefe that takes the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint.
Like I say, one thing. This is to Atlas Farm, a peacock feather they gave me 3 weeks ago. They told me to do this in the winner's circle.
That's pretty amazing.
Very cool. What a story. She referenced Rachel Alexandra. That's what a great racehorse can do for the soul, for the emotion, and making her a horse racing fan. And she winds up in the Kentucky Derby winner's circle and the Breeders' Cup.
And the beauty of this, and much to the delight of our race caller Larry Colbus, is there's no correct way of pronouncing this horse's name. You heard Covfefe there, Covfefe.
Covfefe, either way, she's a Breeders' Cup champion. And they meant a tip of the cap. Cheers to the breeders indeed. And Alexander Groves and Alexander Groves Thoroughbreds, the breeders of Covfefe. Again, without the breeders, none of this happens. It is the Breeders' Cup, and every one of those breeders with their fingerprints all over this Filly Mare Sprint as this terrific group came together. And in the end, just too much Covfefe from that inside post and a Grade 1 victory. That's race 1 of 9 on this Breeders' Cup Championship Saturday. Nick, you have a question. Facebook wants to know your fondest Breeders' Cup memory. They were a lot easier on you than they were on poor Matt.
Fondest Breeders' Cup memory. 16 Arrogate over Chrome is right up there. Zenyatta, I shouldn't say this today, should I? Zenyatta's defeat to blame. Nothing against her, but I just thought it was the most heroic performance in defeat I've ever seen. Those two would be right up there. The Dead Heat, High Chaparral Joe.
Not the after party of the 07
at Monmouth
Cup.
Park.
Yeah.
Well, I got to spend it with you.
That should be number 1.
Where we first really bonded. So yes, it's a very
downhill.
It's a very, very fond moment.
All downhill.
I've looked up to you ever since.
Off and running in Breeders' Cup Saturday. The Filly Mare Sprint in the books. Same brand of racing, more sprinters, this time sprinting on grass with the 5-furlong turf sprint in a $1 million purse. You talk about value. You have some really good races and race horses in here at really big prices. Pure sensation. The 8-year-old in his 4th Breeders' Cup appearance, a tepid favorite along with 9-2. At 9-2, Eddie Haskell, home court advantage co-favored at 9-2.
Home court advantage, 5 furlongs. He is a specialist, and this is a bit of a specialist distance. We often see horses that excel at this 5-furlong distance. Maybe they don't. Maybe they can't carry it out to 5.5. Maybe they can't carry it out to 6. But when you get them at this 5 furlongs, it's 5/8. Boy, they just know how to get around.
And different than in years past. Every Breeders' Cup turf sprint at Santa Anita has been raced down the hillside turf course, not racing down the hill currently at Santa Anita. So this 5 furlongs really does change everything.
Totally different type of horse required.
Absolutely.
You just need brazen speed here, like we saw in the juvenile equivalent of this yesterday. Down the hill, 6.5 furlongs. Quite often you needed a horse who nearly stayed a mile, a horse like Obviously, for example.
Well, and that is the difference, where those horses that are better suited at the 6.5 furlongs, some of these horses, I'll just use Eddie Haskell as an example, he wouldn't be able to run down the hill.
Right,
they would try, but he doesn't have that kind of stamina. So going down that 6.5 furlongs, all of a sudden this race now at 5, boy, that changes the complexion. You have a different type of horse in here.
And now he's a favorite.
Now he's the favorite.
Eddie Haskell. That'll wrap things up for us here at Santa Anita on Facebook. Coverage continuing on NBCSN. The turf sprint next in 22 minutes. And tonight, wait till you see that backdrop, that scene of the mountains here, the San Gabriel Mountains around sunset for the Breeders' Cup Classic on NBC. Gentlemen, pleasure as always.
Thank you, Lafitte.
Thanks, Lafitte. I got to run.
You enjoyed having us up here, didn't you?
Good luck, my friend. Wagering, Nick, roaming the fields, getting the stories, all that coming your way on this Breeders' Cup coverage on NBC. Stay tuned.